rule they did change. In Munster and Leinster they were rearranged, for both of the losers unlike times before got second chances coming through the back door. The back door, the back door, the back door, the back door. Got second chances coming through the back door. Limerick were the first team we had to defeat, and then in the final, sure clear we did meet. Although we were beaten by just one small score, we were still in there coming through the back door. Then there was Clonus, we played in the rain, and up against down we had so much to gain. Although we were wet and some lads felt sore, we were on our way coming through the back door. And so on to Wexford and semi-final day, and last year's great champions were soon made to pay. Our lads were great heroes, we couldn't ask for more. We were in the All-Ireland coming through the back door. The back door, the back door, we were in the All-Ireland coming through the back door. Now comes September for the blue and the gold, with a Jordan go hard like up times before. So whatever the outcome, we'll be happy, I'm sure. That Chip got the key to come through the back door. The back door, the back door, Chip got the key to come through the back door. The back door, the back door, Chip are in the All-Ireland coming through the back door. The back door, come on, Chip. The back door, come on, Chip. Chip are in the All-Ireland coming through the back door. The back door, come on, Chip. The back door, come on, Chip. Chip are in the All-Ireland. The back door, the back door.
Just make the didn't.
You played it earlier on.
Right, I don't want to see it. Which one was it?
You won last year.
I know, but go up the room here or?
Tell me, because that's been the last one. Just check the
The only reason it has grown is because you are coming, the supporters, the spectators, and we're very grateful to you. As you know, the proceeds every year are donated to charity. What can one say about awards between Waterford, Kilkenny and Tipperary? There are so many people here that have memories, and I was just watching Martin Coogan there very closely at one or two of the All-Irelands, and he was kind of pawing the ground of it at one or two things that was happening, and I'm sure Jimmy Doyle and the others. But we'd like to thank Tipperary Crystal for sponsoring the awards today, and we now await on Jimmy Doyle, who has done the honours for us before, and will no doubt do them for us again. And David is getting ready. We're ready here for the presentation. We have a little bit of a problem on that one. Well, now we have a lot of awards to give out this evening. We're talking about awards of players of the past in Waterford, players of the past in Tipperary, also the present players in Waterford, Tipperary and Kilkenny. And then we come to the local scene. We have the three clubs locally, so we'll be going on those along the line. And then, of course, we have the Supporters of the Year Award. We've got 2 awards this year. And here he comes, one of the greats of hurling, Jimmy Doyle. For the benefit of the Kilkenny people and the Waterford people present, Jimmy, I think it's nice to tell them that your most cherished medal was the one you won in the primary schools league in Thurles. And that's the one. He doesn't know how we found out that one. But to begin the awards this afternoon, we move down to where the three rivers meet, down to Waterford. And we go back a bit in time between 57 and 63. As most of you saw on the videos, Waterford had a superb team. And in the words of J.D. Hickey, in the memorable league final against Tipperary in 1963, he said, hurling was brought to perfection on that day. It began, he said, as a ripple and ended as a crescendo. Marvellous hurling, marvellous memories for anybody who saw it. Part of that tremendous team that Claude, you would see there in 59, that the pass to Seamus Power came to from our today's recipient, Larry Guinan. But before Larry comes up, there's a personal view that I always have of Larry Guinan. It was the Waterford team struggling above in Limerick against the rampant Cork. Larry was playing on the back line. He was sending balls down. Nothing was happening. He decided to do it himself. He got the ball almost 30 yards from the Waterford goal, proceeded down the whole length of Limerick, and Jimmy, you know what that pitch is like. I know. And Larry Guinan placed that ball in the back of the net. With apologies to another man, he was captain that day. He was captain fantastic. Larry Guinan. Larry, like all good players, prefer to do it on the field. And now we come to the present day Waterford team. And our recipient today has played in every grade of hurling and football for Waterford. He has got under 21 medals as well. He's been nominated for an All-Star, so far he hasn't got it. He has been on the Railway Cup team for 3 years. He's known in Carrick as Shiner. He has a style all his own, an honest, great style, very gracious to look at. He captained Waterford in '89. Waterford are poised for another breakthrough. Chip will have some ideas on that, including Colin Bonner. But it gives me great pleasure to call on Waterford's hurler for 1990, in the opinion of our experts, Shane Hurling. Now, we have been in Waterford, and we move across the bridge, where the Gardaí are very active at the moment, for obvious reasons. And we go along up that river there, and we find out a place called CARRICK-ON-SUIR. And we come on to a name called Martin Coogan, who first played minor in 1958 for Kilkenny, and he won All-Ireland medals 63, 67, 69 and 72. A man who always on the back line, the long sweeping clearances, a man who had Leinster medals, Railway Cup medals, and he, believe it or not, a medal he prizes, I know that, we've done a little bit of history on you, Martin, is a junior county medal with Erin's Own. And Martin Coogan, one of the great stylists of the game, one of the first All-Stars too, I think, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome him to Carrick-on-SUIR, and I know he'll be renewing acquaintances with our man, Jimmy Doyle. Martin Coogan. Martin, if you wanted to say anything about the build-up, you'll have to blame Tom Lyle. Tom Lyle gave us all the information on that. And now, of course, we come to Kilkenny's other man today, a man who's given sterling credit to his club, and a man who's been all along the line. He won All-Irelands 82, 83, he won a junior medal, he brought Carrick Shock back into the limelight, a man who's always there for Kilkenny, always when he's wanted, a great clubman, a great Kilkenny hurler. We're delighted to see him back in really at full flight again, the man from Carrick Shock, Richie Power. Jimmy Doyle says, try and win a Leinster title. You'll have a crack at it. See, they're always thinking, these fellas, they never stop.
We're in the border there.
Well, we move up along now, along the valley of the shore, and we come to a place that's been famous for greyhounds, they tell me. It's been famous for the Kennys, the Ryans, and it's also been famous, of course, for Liam Devaney. And I know, looking at Liam Devaney's record, it's almost unbelievable. He played in 12 positions for Tipperary. He even played on goal in the National League one time against Clare. Tipperary won, but there were 4 goals went to pass Liam. But we won't hold that against him. He played in every position except full back over a great career. If Tipperary are ever short of gold, or silver, or any other kind of medals, I think Liam Devaney has it. You know he's All-Ireland medals, he has 5 of them. He has 8 National League medals. I think he has 8 Munster Championships, and the list goes on. But to me, the great display I saw, privileged to see in '61 against Dublin, will always stand out in my mind, and I'm sure in all of yours who saw it. Remember the scene, Jimmy Doyle was on pain-killing injections, Tony Wall was injured, Kieran Carey was injured, and Tip took the field. Aki Bootman and Des Foley were running riot. Devaney was playing centre forward, put your mind back. And who comes back at centre back? A master stroke. Liam Devaney, hurling defiance at Dublin, bringing the All-Ireland to Tipperary. One of the household names in hurling, one of the great men of hurling, Liam Devaney. In Borrisley, that the Vannies will talk hurling all night here, but they'll never talk about Liam Devaney. They don't have to. Well, the next man we have for Tipperary, of course, is a man who suffered disappointments, but who came back. A man who has fantastic record in the fact that he played over 33 consecutive games for Tipperary. He has 8 Munster medals between minor, under 21, narrowly missed the Junior All-Ireland. He's got them all. But this year, he must have been disappointed for the Munster final. He came on in the Munster final. Cork were rattled, they were worried. You saw it on the tape. He's a coach in Waterford. We're delighted to have him. But above all, he's a man who in the county final, to me this year, on a terrible day for hurling, and any of you who saw it will remember it. Colin Bonner was there for 60 minutes. Colin Bonner was there with Tip, and above all, Colin Bonner is always there when he's wanted. And let's hope we'll see more and more of Colin Bonner. He's only 26 years. If we were to start to read out all the awards that our players have won on the field, Larry has 12, maybe 14 county medals, we'd be here all night. Sufficient, you know about them and we know about them. And now we come to the local scene, because the club is probably one of the most important units. We're told, we know it. And we're going to take a look at the past here. And one man, if you ever talk about hurling and Carrick-Bay, one name comes up all the time. Particularly way back in 47. A man who pitted his wits, pitted his skills against one of the all-time greats, John Keane, they talked about him. And that man was a stylish hurler, a fiery hurler, a tenacious hurler. He got everything. He even played with London. And unfortunately the scourge of emigration kept him over there too long. Our own Mikey Norris. I don't know, Jimmy, are you aware of that Mikey Norris, you know, is an uncle of Mick Roach's?
Oh my God, I don't know. I never do that.
You didn't know that? And there's a lot of the Kilkenny fellas, but we know it in Carrick and we kind of accept it. Another man that we must talk about today, we go back now to the Davins. We go back to a man, we go back to the year 1953. One of the toughest junior finals of all the time was played in the home final against Offaly. And we had 2 Carrick men on it. One of them received an award last year. It was hip-to-hip hurling, as one of the scribes said. No nonsense. Men hadn't time to think. But that man was involved in that great game. He played for it. He won his All-Ireland. And he's always with the Davins. He's part and parcel with the Davins, as he's part and parcel with the Greyhounds. But I think the hurling is better for him than the Greyhounds. Sean Organ.
Hi, Sean. Sean, turn around this way. That's right.
Now we come to the role of the Swan, player of the past. And I'm sure 1947 is a year that struck in gold in the minds of Swan supporters, because that was the year they won their senior county championship. They defeated Holy Cross in the semi-final. No mean achievement. Jimmy's Tower beat them the year before, but you must lose one to win one, they say. But the following year, they won the county final. And it's an amazing thing that in doing that, they kept the famed Borrisoleigh team scoreless in the second half. A young man then, still young now, he was involved in it. He played a great part in it. Again, emigration took him away. But I think you will give a very round, warm applause for Michael Shea of Fahim.
bit heavy, isn't it?
Michael Shea said the award is a bit heavy. He still wants to go hurling. And now we come to the players of the present in Carrick-on-SUIR. And we'll stay on this side of the river and we'll talk about a man who told me about 6 months ago that the 90s were going to be his period. He's been hurling with the Davins since 1969. His enthusiasm is infectious, his ability is tremendous, and he's given tremendous service to the Davin Club, to hurling, to Tipperary when called upon. The one and only Joe Kennedy. Joe says it's a double for Faheen. And now we go down the road from the Davins down to the Swan. And there was a man there in 1970. He won an under-21 county medal with the Swan. He played great games for the Swan. He overcame a very serious illness. But this year in the South Final, the Swan were on the rack for anybody who was there in the first half hour. It needed leadership, it needed guidance. And the man who supplied it is our recipient today, because within 10 minutes of the second half, he engineered, he created scores that put the Swan back on the tracks again, and of course they won the South. That man, Tony Fitzpatrick. I'd like to say a little thing here too, that Tony had a little ally. His wife was praying for a lockdown before the South Final. That's a well-known fact.
You want your photograph, hold it.
Okay.
Hold it. Thanks very much.
And now we go across to St. Mullins, to their player. And it's an amazing thing when you start looking at players, you have to look at leadership and inspiration. And our man in St. Mullins this time is a man who has a little bit of history on his own, because in the famous game in Waterford in '74, it's known as the firing the Bosch, that Paddy Barry did that. Our recipient was part of the Waterford team. From a pass by Pat McGrath, he clinched it for the Daisha, who eventually beat Cork. He got the 4th goal. A man who was given inspiration to Carrick-Beg. I remember him playing in a county final with his ankle gone. He's still there. His son is playing alongside of him now, but the father's playing a little bit better. Tony Reid. And now, before we go on to the next award, I think I would ask you, for those of you who've been here for the past 3 years, and for our visitors today, just to observe a little silent prayer for one of our great supporters, one of Tipperary's great supporters. And last year he received one of the awards of Supporter of the Year. That was John O'Dwyer, known affectionately to his friends and hurling, if you like to call it, colleagues and enemies, if you like. If John had one, we always had great discussions. John O'Dwyer, just think of him for a small little time. The intro and we come to the supporters of the year. Without supporters, we wouldn't have teams, as you're all no doubt aware. And the committee they come up with some surprising ones. The first one they came up with today is a man who won minor, junior and senior. Aha, but not in Tipperary. He's a loyal Tipperary supporter. He's always there. He got an award recently, a Shamgale Award in Lochgorman. A very, very great, knowledgeable man in hurling, and I'm very pleased that John Elwood is getting one of the awards this year. And another award we have today for Supporter of the Year is a man who is always around the Tipperary, whether they're winning or losing, a man who is always associated with it. In the hail, sleet or snow, you'll always find him travelling where Tip are. That's Michael O'Mara of Pearse Square. Michael O'Dwyer of Pearse Square, there you are. Michael O'Dwyer. There you are, you really make a mistake.
Probably another one.
Well, we want to have a very special guest here today. A man who created, I suppose, a niche for himself in the G.A.A. We often hear about presidents and them up in Croke Park, but it's very seldom that a man who was president of the association created so much good for us all down through the years. And that man was Seamus O'Reilly. Today's little event would not have taken place only for Seamus O'Reilly got the development committee underway. He also set up the G.A.A. Commission. But I suppose the one thing that he will always be remembered, and he's still alive, of course, most of you know, is that failing the game. He started that in '71 with Tommy Barrett and Thurles, and that has grown from strength to strength. Seamus was to be with us today. He had a hernia operation, and I'm pleased to see that his son Jack is here. But before we win, we'd like to tell Tipperary people that Seamus O'Reilly, when he was training to be a teacher, he won 2 senior football medals in Waterford. That's a nice little one that nobody knows about, maybe. But Seamus, of course, was a wonderful man in all the councils of the G.A.A. and he brought the G.A.A. right into the 20th century. We wish him a speedy recovery, no doubt. He will be around and maybe we will have him next year. But in the meantime, I know his son Jack is here and he's married to Sean O'Shea Khan's daughter. So there's a very special welcome to those people coming from Money Hall down here at CARRICK-ON-SUIR. I'm sure you give them a big bowl of us. Jack is a league winner, a medal winner, and an All-Ireland medal winner as well. And it is interesting again, the first for Jack's dad. He was the first man to make contact with Australia. Jack, I think you'd like to say a few words to us.
Thanks very much. I'm thrilled to be here in Carrick, and my father was especially looking forward to come here, and he was very disappointed he couldn't make it, because he has great friends in Carrick, and he always, when we were growing up talking about great strongholds of hurling, Carrick was always high on the list, with all the great men from the very start that came from Carrick. And he has many great friends here, and he loves coming to Carrick. I'm thrilled to come here on his behalf and to be with great hurlers of the past and present, and all great gentlemen of the game as well. I think these triangle awards are a brilliant idea, because the life of our games is the great rivalry between parishes, between clubs and between counties. But when it comes to the pitch, we're all hurling men and there are no boundaries. And I'm thrilled to be here when you are honouring great players, past and present, from 3 counties, showing that there are really no boundaries. We're all hurling men, the greatest game in the world. Thanks very much for your attention.
I think Tom Grace wants a photograph of all the award winners today. Is that right, Tom? You can come up here. That concludes includes the awards from all points of view, and I hope that you have partaken the food that's on offer here, and Camera Milkio, Eleanor Shaharwish. Slán, Lisbana.
We'll go back over old times, lads, and matches that stand out, various bits and pieces, and sort of the old bit of rivalry that still exists, but more importantly the comradeship that's there, you know. I'm home for about 10 minutes. Everybody know?
Are you okay?
We're grand.
Yeah.
And thanks very much.
Go easy on the fucking question.
I will, yeah.
Yeah, handy ones.
Sorry, sorry, who are you again now? Who are you?
Don't never say that we have to start teaching and to say nothing.
Don't worry, don't worry.
That'd be worse, wouldn't it, Larry?
He won't set you up.
No. Right, get him.
Throwing the ball down.
Well, we're here tonight in CARRICK-ON-SUIR, back again for the Triangular Awards, and with me, I can honestly say I have the creme de la creme of the stars of the past. I have Larry Guinan of Waterford, Martin Coogan of Kilkenny, and on my right, a man who is better known, I think, in hurling circles by his surname rather than his full name, Davani, the famed Davani, Liam Davani from Barcelona. Liam, I'm going to start with you. I hope you don't mind me referring to you just by your surname.
No problem.
It's a thing actually that has gone with you, that everybody knows you by your surname rather than your first name. Why is that, Liam?
Well, I don't know. When I was living in Borrisalee a long time ago, people called me Billy. And then I was hurling a match and I was down as Liam Davani. And that stayed to me for the rest of them.
And at home now, what will they call you?
Well, as I go up with it, I do know him as Billy Davani.
Billy Davani, right. I always used to mistake you with Liam Davani, the singer. Do you sing at all?
No. Not type.
Right.
No.
If you had the right mixture inside you,
Right,
mixture.
yeah.
Martin, great night here, great to meet old friends and the old rivalries.
Yes, very nice. I think it was nice to meet the likes of Liam Davani and Larry Guinan and Jimmy Dave, and nice to meet the hurlers of the present.
That's
like
right. Of course we have
Bonner and
Shane Ahern and
Richie
Power.
Power, yeah.
Fine cut of a man, Richie Power, isn't he?
He is, yes. Bonner is not too.
No, but you'll be hoping that Richie will be leading you back to the promised land.
Yes, I think we need a break now. That we have problems with to get the blend that's needed.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take a bit of time, I think, but maybe in a couple of years.
Martin, for listeners who are not that familiar with you, you're from up North Kilkenny, from Castlecoma. That's not a hurling stronghold, is it?
No, it's not not rated as a very strong Kilkenny hurling.
So when you were making the grade in the late 50s and the 60s and that, it must have been, was it harder for you, I'll put it that way, was it harder for you to make it than say for a man from South Kilkenny?
Not around the period of the 60s. Because in the North Kilkenny, through the 60s, we had good competitive club hurling in the North Kilkenny at that particular period of the 60s.
Right.
It was very strong in the North.
Okay. Larry Gannon, if you can come in a little bit closer to me, and we'll move this glass of lemonade out of the way. I noticed you happened one in front of you, but we'll talk about that later on. Larry, you should know Martin Coogan very well because you played against him in what, 57 and 59?
No, it was 63 in actual fact. And again, having said that, I never met Martin till tonight. This is fact. This was my first time meeting Martin. A nice fella. I hated him at that time in 63 when we first met. But this has been my first occasion of meeting Martin. Like, we had great teams playing against us, and the likes of G.A.A. and Kilkenny, and those fellas were hard to beat, you know.
Larry, you played with some of the hurling greats from Munster.
Yeah.
Tom Chesty and Philip Grimes, just two now that come to my mind. Who was of that Waterford team back in the late 50s would come to your mind?
Well, of course, Seamus Carr, Frank Welch, Austin Flynn, Chesty, those fellas, they were great men. I thought we were a great old team. We always knit as a team, and it was great. It was a family thing, you know. We always considered it as a family thing, and we were great comrades, and that's what made us good.
There's been great talk in Waterford about the hurling now, with Joe McGrath being back, and I was talking to Shane Hearn earlier on. They're confident that 1991 is going to be Waterford's year. What do you reckon?
I think so. I hope so. I certainly hope so, because Waterford have been down for a long, long time, and we need an old break, and Joe McGrath seems to be giving the lads this bit of confidence, and I think that's all they need. There's nothing between the teams here at the moment, and I think Joe McGrath has given the lads a bit of confidence that they need, and hopefully in 1991 now will be a strong force again.
Well, we look forward to that, and of course we look forward to that league game. I think it's in late February, early March between Tip and Waterford. There'll be a bit of cut and thrust in that. Cut and thrust is no stranger to you, Liam Devaney. Paddy Finucane was saying earlier on this evening that you played in 12 or 13 positions. You even ended up playing in goal one time. You might tell us a little bit about that one.
Well, I played in goal below in a league match against Clare. And as he said, the 3 or 4 of them hit the wire.
So the less said about that, the better.
The less said about that, the better.
Well, let's talk about that 61 All-Ireland final against Dublin. You started out centre forward and you ended up centre back, and Tip won the same day.
That's right, yeah.
Your finest hour?
Well, I wouldn't say it was my finest hour. I'd say we were lucky, because I always put it down to the likes of John Hawke coming in. Des Foley was going to town, and Hawke came in and he stopped him from hurling. And when you stop the middle field from hurling, it's very easy hurling the half-back.
If 61 isn't the one that stands out in your mind as being the best of your All-Irelands, what would you? I mean, you have 5 senior medals. That's no mean achievement. So what one would you say that was my finest one?
Well, I suppose 61, I got more credit for 61 than I did for the rest of them. But I was lucky, but there was all rounds that we played in that Kilkenny beat it in 67. We were not taken from Kilkenny, we were unlucky. But you can be lucky. I came out that day with a man of the match. But like, one man don't win a match for any team. It takes the whole 15.
Whole 15 and the subs as well.
And the subs. And I think Hawke was an awful bairn on that 61 All-Ireland coming in.
Right. What about playing with Borrisalee? You had some great games with Borrisalee too.
Well, I was unlucky with Borrisalee because I came at the wrong time. I have one medal. And that was we beat Borland 53, county final. And I was after winning them in Ireland the same day. So I was only 18. And that is the only medal I have with Borrisalee.
County senior.
County senior.
Well, that no, I didn't know. I thought Varsity. Of course, Sarsfields were there thereabouts, so they would have put a halt to your gallop anyway.
Yeah.
Richie Stakelum
Yeah.
tells a lovely story about you. I was talking to him one day, and the name Devaney came down, and he says his favourite memory of Liam Devaney was not in the hurling pitch, but when as boys they were all knocking about with the hurley, Devaney would have come rushing in the middle of them and tussled with the boys, and for the cracked in, he'd run off with the ball in his pocket. But you were great for youngsters.
Well, I always think that your club is your pride. That if you're not a good clubman, you know that you have to be standing out for your club. Because I think that the one All Ireland that I have, the one county final that I won Varsity, that's the most cherished medal I have, because it was with me own.
The most cherished.
Yeah.
Right. Martin, a good time to talk to you about your most cherished medal of all the ones that you won.
I learned talking about.
You all learned in
I played the first Ireland against Water, 63.
63.
Yeah, the first one has to be the most, you know.
Did you win again? I know you won in 72 anyway. When
Yeah, 69.
69 as well.
67 again, Tipperary.
Oh yes, there's famous
Yeah,
61. Mick Roach, I think, captain Tip that day.
That's right, yeah.
First in 2 years.
Yeah.
Mick captain, and unfortunately Mick wasn't to be, but then captain.
Yeah.
Right. Eddie Keir, I know, was on that team. Jim Tracy as well.
Tracy, that's right.
Fran Cummins, Pat Henderson as well.
That's right, yeah.
Who else would come back?
67, sure, there was, sure, Ollie was on that team too.
Oh, the
Ollie was on, all great hurlers too, you know. They've done tremendous work.
Will Ollie make the difference now at the helm in Kilkenny?
Well, sure. I suppose he'll build up a little bit of confidence into him now, but just to get the panel that you need is the important thing, you know. And it's a worrying time in Kilkenny because we have a lot of good hurlers, but a lot of them are small, and we need a few big lads, big men to carry it through as well, you know. There's mixing the blend.
Have you gone a bit like Tipperary in the late 70s? Tip were winning a number of minor and under 21 All Ireland titles,
Yes.
but we're failing to make the grade at senior level. The last few years you've won under 21 and minor. I think you won the minor again this year. Memory serves me right. DJ Carey, I know, came off the minor team of the year before last, and Adrian Ronan and these players.
Yes.
But are you gone a little bit like us? That you're finding that
Yes, a little bit.
that step up?
Yes. We have a little bit of work to do already to get back up to the top with the good counties. But it's going to take hard work and a few. We need a few big, strong players to mix in with the small, good hurlers, you know.
Larry Guinan, your own club, Mount Sinai, am I right in saying that? Right. One of the famous clubs in Munster, never mind saying Waterford. What memories come back to you of Mount Sinai?
Oh, well, Mount Sinai were a club apart. I always thought so anyway. They were like something like Thurles Sarsfields and Glenrove's of Cork. You know, we were a great club. We were a family club again, as I say, you know. What else can I say about it?
About Mount Sinai. Rowan Moore, of course, are now in Waterford. Are they taking a bit of the glitter away from you?
No, not at all. Romore just coming and a good club could look to him, whatever. But we'll be back and we'll be dominant in Waterford again. And I think once Mount Sinai in charge and the dominant club, I think Waterford will be strong again. And I honestly believe that because I think Mount Sinai are the team to lead Waterford.
You honestly believe that?
I do, yeah.
Okay, I've asked Martin, I've asked Liam about the medal they treasure most. What medal would you treasure most?
Well, of course, we've only got the one All Ireland. Well, we have two, but I have one in 1959. Naturally, that's the most special medal I have. The skiers and Waterford, as you know, we can't talk like those Kilkenny and Tipperary men, you know. So, 59, yeah, definitely.
If you could put it into words or sum it up in words, that three now have quite a number of All Ireland medals between you. What is so special about it? Why is it that class above the rest? Even if you only, like yourself, Larry, you only have the one.
I always looked up to Tipperary and Kilkenny Hurling, you know. I thought they were the greats, you know. Cork, of course. But Kilkenny and Tipperary were the greats of hurling, and I always admired them. Always hated them, but admired them, you know. And I don't know, it was a great pleasure to beat one of the two, any of the two. It was my greatest pleasure, any of those two in particular. Cork, I never really, while I admired them, I never felt the same satisfaction at beating Cork as what I did when I beat Kilkenny on Tipperary, particularly Tipperary.
He says, smiling and looking over at Liam DeVanney.
Yeah.
Martin, who was your most difficult opponent, would you say?
Sure, it's
At any level now?
I'd have to push it down as Jimmy Lyle was. I rate him as an outstanding forward that I played on. I'd have to rate him as that. He was brilliant as a sportsman and as a hurler.
Yeah, people I've spoken to about Jimmy Lyle, they've always mentioned this fact that he was a very good sportsman.
Yeah, very good. I can always say that about him. Very good as a sportsman.
What about you? What about you, Liam? Your most difficult opponent, and my God, you marked enough of them in your time.
Well, the most difficult opponent I had was Billy Rackard.
Of Wexford.
I could never manage Billy Rackard, never. And the other most difficult opponent was, and I rate him as one of the, was Johnny McDonald Kilkenny. And you had great, you had Larry Ryan and you had Martin O'Morrissey and Pat Henderson. It's very hard to pick out an individual.
Right.
Like, you'll overcome some individual on Monday.
Yeah.
And they'll,
Next day,
the next day
they could have the measure of you.
they could, and maybe 2 or 3 days after.
Right. Larry, what about yourself? Your most tricky opponent?
Well, Jimmy Doyle, of course, come to mind straight off. Jimmy was the greatest hurler I ever met, by far. Now I played on Christy Ring for a while. I played on Eddie Kerr. I played on Liam there for a while in the Munster final in '63. Jimmy Doyle was some handful. He was the greatest. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah.
You'd even class him above Ring?
I would, for the time I played on him, certainly. Yeah.
Well, that's a fair statement. We're going to finish, lads, and how I'll finish it up. Hurling in Tipperary is back in the big time. It's always been there in Kilkenny and in Waterford. There are youngsters who no doubt will be listening to this. You're past masters of the game. What advice would you give to the youngsters coming up, be a 12-year-old or an 18-year-old? Liam, I'll start with you.
Well, I don't know, they say practice makes perfect. But we're in a different old area now. It's very hard to keep them, right. There's a lot of hurlers around, but they have a lot of problems, and there are more problems we had. We had no money in our time, and there's a lot of old social,
Mm-hmm.
But as regards to Prairie, I think to Prairie, and I don't want to be embarrassed, Larry, but I think the Prairie at the moment, they are on top of the rest of the wave. They have a lot of hurlers. They may have a few individuals, but they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of talent at the moment. And I see a great future for them.
1991 will be back?
I think, yes, they have a lot of hope.
Right, okay, Liam. Martin, your advice to a youngster up and coming, be in the village of Castlecombe or listen to you below in the village of Ballyhale?
As Liam says, practice makes perfect. You have to practice. But in our time, there were different times. That's all we did. Hurl for hours and hours. But it's different now to have a lot of more entertainment and go places into a car and go from one place to another. And I feel that is a problem now with getting that dedication that's needed now, with the club level and
everything is all the different distractions are there.
Yes.
Larry Guinan?
Well, I would say to enjoy yourselves, the young lads, to enjoy themselves playing hurling, because hurling is the greatest game. There's no doubt whatever in my mind. Jack's army is come and gone. Hurling will always be there and it'll always be remembered.
Well, with those fine words, I'll thank you, the three of you, Larry Guinan of Mount Sion in Waterford, Martin Coogan of Castlecombe in Kilkenny, and Liam DeVanney of Forestally in Tipperary. It's been a pleasure not only to meet you, but also to talk with you, and for you to go back and renew the deeds of past glories, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me, gentlemen, all they were great glories. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I forgot to put on my stopwatch, guys, but looking at the tape, I reckon I 15 minutes job. Now, here's wishing you all good health.
Cheers. We do the best we
91.
the best we can. and hope we have a good year in the hurling.
Oh, please God.
Good luck, Larry.
Good luck.
I was just looking at the Munster final video, and I didn't realise it was such a good game. Because I was doing the commentary for Shirley Donald, and you can't really appreciate things until you sit back and watch it there tonight. It was a great Munster final. So it was some great hurling.
Some good hurling in it.
Yeah,
Parents, you know. But leave it all to the All Ireland final.
This fella was a couple of years.
I want to say the tape, you know, or the 61 on it. Ward had his first baby was a Mongol child, you know. I didn't want to say that, you know, but Ward had problems, you know, and see, that's the thing I never forgot. That's why I was trying to make it as simple as I could. You can go back. But I thought Hawk, because his phone was going to come, but I thought Hawk was true. That Hawk came in and he stopped it, you know. Like Jack Charlton's attitude. At the end of the day, it's such a win. But I think these awards and all these things are, you know, you can't pick any of individual. Today, 63 now, the chief beating us. I lost that. I remember Ahisha Bond Dash from Windsor. It went between Matty, there was the goal post, and Matty was here, and the ball went up beside him, you know. We don't have no goal, but, you know, you can be terribly lucky, I don't know. But the club from the Ferry, as you said, Mount Sinai, you had Glenmore, you had Rathnure, you had St. Vincent's in Dublin, you had all these.
Hurling was very strong in the 60s.
But there is one thing I feel terribly
Talk
strong
about it
about.
all night, Liam.
But there is one thing that I feel terribly strong that we don't know where with Patrick's Day. Because you brought the cream of Ireland, and you brought down lads like the Jimmy Murray leagues and the Patrick Singer Garage League, and lads that would never have had it. They got their chance on that day. You know, that's right.
And you made tracks for the goal.
Yeah.
And Paddy Lahey got up out of the dugout, and he followed you up the line. Did you hear or did you know what he said to you?
I didn't hear, but all I know is that I remember Austin Flynn, and I always counted Flynn a great outfielder. He was more underestimated because he'd throw himself out with it. And I remember getting the ball, and he'd thrown himself, and I sort of pulled the ball short, and the ball went wide. And I remember I was in Clonmel drinking in Heavens down in a restaurant in Clonmel at the time. I got our lid on it, and someone said to me, Jesus, he said, you're going to have no car after that day. You know, like, you know. But
Your boss.
I thought Waterford now. I thought Waterford for the time that you should have won more than what you won.
I was saying that to Larry tonight.
Yeah.
They should have won what the time.
God, man. It was to beat Kilkenny and Tipperary. You know, those two fellas won once. We beat Kilkenny and Tipperary. We were great. We thought we were great, you know. Got to beat those fellas, you know, because we always looked up to you so much, you know.
I always thought Kenny, John Mann or nothing on what is
John Mann,
you know you want John Mann.
That's right.
It is on the day.
It's an awful thing.
No, there's nothing sure about that. It is how you perform on the day.
Well, I thought Patrick's Day was a disaster because you see they were cream of the country.
That's true, yeah.
And to be picked for your province at that time, it was like,
A big thing.
you know.
Wasn't it really, you know?
Well, no.
But in that period, our 60s there, it was very strong though.
It was very strong.
Say a few words about it.
Have you any few words to say?
Yes.
We'll manage that.
We get a microphone here.
No, Senator, I say small, so you say small.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
making a presentation to Mr. Michael Cody, bandmaster of Carrick-On-SUIR Brass Band. Could we have a round of applause, please? Thank you very much indeed. Right, and we'll ask Joe to say a few brief words, ladies and gentlemen. Unaccustomed as he is.
Unaccustomed in a big way. Ladies, and I think there's more gentlemen here tonight, because this is the greatest excuse I ever saw for a piece up. I think it's ideal on a Friday afternoon for all these gentlemen to get together and bring a few of the ladies with them, just for guardian angel purposes. But I think it's a very worthy evening, to say the least. And I think this evening it has been made more worthy, because usually the proceeds of events like this go to charity. We often forget about the musical tributes that we have on a summer afternoon across in the Green and Carrick-On-SUIR from the Brass and Reed Band. And I'm very partial to brass myself, because years ago when we had show bands, there was not a show band in the country without a trombone, a clarinet or a saxophone. A very big welcome and a round of applause for the lovely music they provided us with tonight. To the maestro of the Brass and Reed Band to say a few words, because we felt that such good music deserved.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Joe. And this is an unexpected presentation to the brass band, which Joe described as the serene music of the brass band. I'm not quite sure that that's the right word, serene, but we appreciate the word anyway.
It made me sing more points.
I'd like to thank, on behalf of the band, I'd like to thank Joe for the lovely bowl, which is a credit to the enterprise he and others have brought to Carrick, and which is achieving great success, I'm glad to note. Maybe I should say also that we are delighted, I can speak here on behalf of the chairman and the committee, I'm sure, and the members of the band. We are delighted to be the recipients of the benefits of this occasion. And our ties with the G.A.A. go back a long way. In fact, the Carrick Brass Band was at the opening of Davin Park when my grandfather was the maestro. And I also remember leading the Carrick Band around in 1985, the year of the centenary, around the town. In between that, of course, there have been God knows how many matches in the Davin Park at which the band also played. So this is a great evening for us, and a recognition, I think, of the relationship between us and the various G.A.A. clubs. Thanks very much again, Joe, and thank you to the organisers of the evening.
She said, come in, sir. I begged my father at party place and played the floggy tune. Well, I played the blackboard and a stand on Barbie, Rodney's glory. She sang each note like an Irish lemon, and the tears flowed in her eyes so blue. 'Twas early in the morning I hit that road, followed on and on. She said goodbye, sir, and she cried, and my heart remained with her Galway shore. For she won't no jewels, nor costly diamonds, no fame, no power, no at all. She wore a bonnet with a red bonnet, and round her shoulders was the Galway shawl, and around her shoulders was the Galway shawl.
Thank you to the Canadian Lake Dancers. Come on, we'll have a short break. Thank you very much indeed.
You okay? You ready?
Where's the whip?
I want it so much. Here we go. Mama, mama,
I'm going to call about the Star Doctors. Here we go.
Coming through the back door, the back door.
Come on, Chip.
The back door.
Come on, Chip.
Chip are in the all iron coming through the back door, the back door.
Come on,